Welcome to another episode of the Metal Roundup. And this time, we're going to predict the future in some ways. We're going to tell you, and you can disagree in the comments, what modern metal albums are going to be classics one day. So here's the criteria that we're all aligning on for this. So a classic album is a highly influential, critically acclaimed, and enduring musical work that maintains relevance, popularity, and high quality over a long period, usually defined by a generation or more. We're going to choose 10 years here as our max. These albums have to come out within the last 10 years to qualify here. They often define a genre or spark cultural shifts and possess significant replay value, frequently referred to as having no skips.
Yes.
There might be a couple of wrinkles within this, but this is kind of what we're aiming for here. I've got a few here noted. We've each had some time to think about this. So any trepidations before we go into this? Anything you want to call out before we get into defining what we think are the future's classic albums in the current era?
I think just reiterate the fact that it's 10 years max is the length that we're doing for people listening.
And also, just for myself personally, I haven't been listening to heavy music for that long either. So I guess I suppose it's still within the range of 10 years. So it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, I guess maybe my scope might be a little bit different to maybe how you guys are viewing it. And, you know, I'm sure we'll all be on different pages with what classifies as a classic album, because I was having to think about it beforehand. And the notion of it being a no-skip album is not really something that I was going off of. I was more so looking at impact and how, like, in 10 years' time, we'll look at the amount of albums that would have followed after that one particular album that we're talking about that were maybe influenced by that. I think that's probably how I would gauge, like, classic albums a little bit more.
Yeah, if we're thinking of this as like a top trumps kind of card thing, they're not necessarily going to be maxed out 10 out of 10 in every single aspect. You can be like, you can have some quibbles, like, but it's still a classic album. You can kind of make a reason for all of them. Or at least we'll find out. That could be the debate.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few different variations of what actually warrants being a classic album, which will be fun.
It's very hard to find an album that has no skips too. Like, that's very rare.
Yeah, very, very rare. But yeah, I suppose before we get into it, I'd like to bring up a song that I know Burb has already heard, but I don't know if Steve has heard it yet. Burb, I know you listened to the new Arcane Roots song. Which is called...
I have too, actually.
Oh, Steve has as well. What did you think of it, Steve?
Just like at my rating here, I think
not for me.
A Wave Across the Sea, solid.
I hate you. I just do.
Here's the thing.
No,
it was a journey of a song. It requires a bit of patience for the first couple of minutes. It does develop in a nice way, and it gets to an interesting kind of crescendo-y point towards the end. But it didn't light me up enormously. I thought there was a section there towards the end. I was like, oh, this is coming together. This is really, really good. But the rest of it, it was maybe a little longer, a little bit more gradual of a meander than I particularly found exciting.
Herb?
I haven't gone back to it since I initially heard it, but I remember it being a really cool track. Like, it was cinematic rock. I've heard a few songs from these guys in the past. So Arcane Roots, for people that don't know, is just like, from what I gather, they're just a rock band, maybe a little bit of progressiveness in the structures, but this new song was like a slow burn, beautiful vocals, a lot of atmosphere, and it had a slow build up before it gets into a crescendo kind of moment. And so it's well done. Just haven't gone back to it too much, but I don't know. I love songs like that. I love songs that have a slow burn and have that payoff moment, right?
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit like Black Shape. The most recent stuff with the vocals on it, that same kind of slow burn. Yeah, I fucking loved it. I only listened to it last night, and I've heard it a couple more times this morning, and it's just growing on me a lot. Great melody choices. A lot of those slow burn songs sometimes just don't feel like they're worth the wait for the time that you're spending with the song, but there's just nuggets of cool moments within that song that I think make it worth listening to the whole journey. And yeah, I've only maybe like 3 or 4 times I was editing a little clip for it. And sometimes that can actually weirdly be the like best way to really get into a song, is when you start to like literally go through it frame by frame and you're like, fuck, this is real. And you're like hearing the same portion like back to back to back. I'm like, I'm fucking starting to really get into this song. So yeah, I had that experience there today with like certain sections, and Yeah, I fucking love that song. So if you haven't heard it, it's called A Wave Across the Sea, like Steve mentioned, by Arcane Roots. It's also kind of like it has a bit more weight to it as well, because it's their first song back in 9 years. So it's similar to the Carnival situation, where there's like an additional added emotional element to it, because a lot of people would have been waiting for literally 9 years for them to release new music. So I think they did a great job. Again, similar to the Carnival situation, coming back after that amount of time off is a extremely tall task, and by the sounds of it, people are really happy they're back with that song. So yeah,
dude,
thought it was sick.
That happens so many times where like I listen to a song on Twitch and I'm like, I think there's something here. I need to hear this song again. And that happened with Asava. I'm just like, I want to clip this. And I think this is going to do really well, actually. Now I fucking love the song. There's so many instances where I just like, yeah, you're listening to the song frame by frame. Like, actually, this is really, really cool. But yeah, like I thought about clipping that part, that song too. And I think if I did, I probably would have liked it more. So I just need to go back to it again. But yeah, it is a really cool track. So definitely a good recommendation there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was
Speaking of things, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Yap more.
Sorry, go. I don't even know what I was going to say.
Exactly. No, I'm just kidding. Speaking of things that can grow over time. So,
whoa.
Many people have been saying you got fuck's sake, Drew.
Sorry.
Over long periods of time. Plenty of people have been saying you got to check out this Doomed cover by MAPHRA.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the first introduction to them was the Spiritbox Circle With Me cover. And I was like, what? It's a wild voice. And I wasn't really that into it. So I was like, well, fucking enough people are saying the Doomed one's better. So I checked that one out today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it did grow on me. I mean, you can't deny it's an incredibly fucking unique voice. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There are moments I'm like, I don't know. But you got to applaud the fucking effort there. And I do think Doomed suited her voice way more. I think it made it a really wonderful kind of reimagining of it.
Yeah.
And there were some wild moments within it, which are kind of like, it's startling stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of starting to get a handle on enjoying that voice, which is a surprise to me because it was a lot on first listen.
Yeah. Just for a little bit of context, MAPHRA is the artist we're referring to here, who doesn't actually have any original. I think they might actually have one piece of original music on Spotify, and they are like going uber viral over the past couple of months with their covers. They have a couple of popular songs that they've covered. This one in particular that we're talking about is Doomed by Bring Me the Horizon. They also had a Spiritbox. Is it Circle With Me? I haven't seen any other ones. Circle With Me,
Burb's favorite song.
Burb checked out, yeah. And they've just been kind of like blowing up like crazy numbers. The Doomed cover has like over 3 million views in 2 weeks. And then the other ones I think are just all spiking up in the algorithm. Everyone's like checking it out and reacting to it. So that's obviously helping as well. It just seems that like every video of her goes crazy viral just because, one, I think she's like objectively really talented, but also there's something about the visual aesthetic as well that kind of looks AI. So there's that like added element to it as well.
I
that
definitely
people
got
are
a
like,
story
oh,
for this.
this is AI. And yeah, it's just it's quite polarizing because covering songs that almost everyone knows, so it's like the net is cast really, really wide, so everyone will have an opinion on the song and the actual take of the cover. And yeah, it's been kind of fascinating to see how ridiculously rabid her fan base is for someone who doesn't actually have any original music. Like, I posted my video for it and I haven't seen a response on a YouTube video in the comments like that since I was like originally checking out like some K-pop music and like Nightwish, like that kind of level of fandom where when you post a video, you know, when you can like see it in your analytics where it hits a particular audience that is not your normal audience, where it's like, oh, this is a different type of video. And then the comments started to reflect that like spike where it's like MAPHRA squad, who's here? And it's like people in the comments that know each other from like separate Discords and separate YouTube videos. And they have this whole thing where there's this like one guy who comments on every single video. So before he'd even commented on my video and I had no idea who he was, all the comments were like waiting for this guy to show up. And I'm like, I've just like opened some door here. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of cool to see that because it kind of felt like that era of like React content was gone. That felt like very pandemic where there was just like people sitting in all day and like it was just so much more interactions on these types of videos. Well, that was kind of insane to see that happening again. So yeah.
Well, that makes me nervous. That makes me not want to post my reaction.
When I checked out MAPHRA back in January, because it was very quiet, like there was not much to cover. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check out this cover because like it seems like to be blowing up. Like, what's the hype all about? And I thought it was really cool. I love the way that she does the clean, harsh vocals. I think that I personally liked it. I thought it was an interesting twist. It wasn't just like her trying to sound like Courtney to a T, which I did appreciate. Obviously, like it did well in numbers. I post on like TikTok or Instagram. It's like 600,000 views. I'm like, this is getting crazy viral. And what's interesting is that Steve, someone in your Discord, said, by the way, MAPHRA is AI. And then someone, Lone Wolf, actually in our community, shared that or forwarded it to my Discord, and they're like, by the way, MAPHRA is AI. So my Discord is just having this big conversation, just saying, oh yeah, she's AI. Like that sucks. Like screw that, screw her kind of thing. And I just replied to it like pretty much like, are you serious? Like, am I platforming something that's AI? Like, I need to look into this. Like, this is bad.
I'd be surprised if it is. I don't know why AI would choose this very low barrel wide kind of voice and that delivery.
So some people were, basically saying like, I don't care if it's like even real at this point. Like, I'm not going to even give her the attention. Like, people are this adamant about AI kind of thing. What I did was I awkwardly had to ask her myself because I needed to know if like she's AI. So I had to awkwardly ask her.
And the AI said, I am not.
I had to DM her just like, this is going to sound a little weird, but I don't want to be platform, with AI being so crazy right now. Are you AI? She basically replied like, no, I'm not AI. And, it's unfortunate that people keep thinking I am. And I like so many people, actually thinking I am. And if you look back at her Instagram profile, you can see covers of her back in like, I don't know, 2019, 2020. I also was seeing her in tagged photos. Like there's like not a lot of stuff to find, but you can find it. There is a tagged photo of her. So I had to go reply to in your Discord, like, by the way, she's real. Like, here's the DM. Like I had to make sure that she's actually real. But people like, I even saw a video on yesterday from this content creator saying like, who is this MAPHRA girl? She's blowing up. Like, is she AI? And I had to respond to his video saying like, no, she's not AI. Actually, it's really,
I would never have thought she was AI, because AI is about taking all the influences and finding the middle road that is going to have all the elements everyone likes. This is so Marmite. I mean, maybe that's the next level of fucking AI shit. Just like throw some wild shit out there. There's no way this would be an amalgamation of a bunch of influences, and this is what you'd get. Like, even the decisions to go in and out of the transition to screams and pre-chorus moments, like you fucking nothing would build that out of an AI generation.
People were looking at the video, looking at the candles and stuff, something about it being a little bit weird. And also like my initial reaction to her, I'm like, something about this, like this must be like already recorded. It's like pre-recorded, I'm pretty sure.
Definitely. The video does not match the audio.
Yeah. So that happened. And then that's where I'm like, oh shit, like, is this actually like weirdly like AI, or has AI like influence on it? Like she's using a little bit of AI tooling or something. So I asked her that actually, like, not saying that you are AI, but like, are you using any like AI tools? And she says no. So it's a legit cover. She has a huge dedicated fan base, like Drew's saying. It's like, it's rabid, it's intense. But it's kind of weird. Like, so definitely pay attention to MAPHRA, because like there's something happening there with her, and who knows if she creates some original music, she might.
I think that's inevitable. Would you get this size of audience now? Label's gonna be in touch. Like something's.
She has it in her bio that I think it's like original music on the way, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, like my understanding was that like the visuals that we're seeing is the visuals and the audio that we're seeing is from that take, but there's obviously like, it's not a one take live performance that like would usually be specified in the actual YouTube video. I'm assuming there's some level of correction and processing and editing after the fact, but the actual audio is from that take is how I see it. But like, are you guys saying that she's miming a separate take? Like she did it off camera and then mimed it? I think it was too.
I think so.
I felt like it was mimed a little bit, like the Spiritbox one, but like it still sounded really good. It's something about it just seemed a little like not exact.
Yeah.
Really? Well, what is the purpose of? I understand like editing and that side of things, but what is the purpose of doing what you guys are saying, where she records it in a different environment, like off camera, and then mimes it and edits it? Like, what's the actual like the benefit of just recording the original take and then just editing it anyway?
I think it's as simple as the pressure of having a great take and also having a camera rolling on you while you're trying to do that, and audio is a lot that you then, if you fuck it up, you're then your camera might overheat if you're like on your 10th take, whatever it is. So it's easier to just focus on audio alone. Who cares what you look like? Just get the audio down. And then, you're happy with how it sounds. It's a perfect recording. You've produced that. It's going to sound great. And then you put it up so you can essentially show what it would look like if you were doing it. And then you have that kind of like captive audience of, oh, look, she's doing this for real. Because most people are not going to tell any kind of slight inconsistency.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm not for it. I'd rather you spend the extra effort and risk of doing the recording into that microphone with the video on it, and then make some audio editing later on. But if you have that live connection between the video and the audio, then it's a much more.
I didn't get the impression that it was that. Maybe I need to look back on it again, because I think it's more pressure to try and make it look like you've just recorded that actual audio take in a video. Like, to try and mime something you've just done is surely a lot harder to do than to just record, like show. Yeah, fair enough, you're editing the audio or whatever. But yeah, just the whole AI conversation. Even the fact that like it's just so exhausting now that you can't just like take something at face value. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's a bit of a good thing in the skies or in the long term that people will no longer take everything at face value. Because before AI, I think people just did that. They'd hear a live take and like, oh, that's a live performance. But I think AI is now forcing people a little bit to question everything. I think it's swung too far one way where like now everything is fake.
Yeah, Zenobia is getting hit with those claims too.
Yeah,
but yeah. The whole like miming stuff was happening with like guitar covers too back in the day, like or still is, like Ichika Nito or whatever is getting that too, and like Steve's like on point. Like I used to do tons of guitar covers on my old YouTube channel, and like literally as soon as the camera starts rolling, you're like fuck, and you just like start screwing up. And like it's something about that pressure, and so many people like online, like these guitarists, vocal covers, a lot of them are miming it. It's a lot of pre-recorded stuff.
I don't think there's a problem with compositing a bunch of clips. You want the audio to be as good as possible and representing what I think is important though is how you represent that. So if you do an offline audio recording and you produce that and then you mime along to that, I don't think you should in your video title it like live one take vocal cover, because that's not really correct for what you're seeing to what you're hearing. Now MAPHRA cleverly here, I don't know cleverly, but appropriately, the title is Bring Me the Horizon Doomed, MAPHRA vocal cover. It doesn't say it's one take. It doesn't say it's a live take. It's not like, it's, if you are doing things like that, I think it's important to be like, even in the description, like, by the way, this is how this is put together. I think would be something that's just kind of helps with that. Because whatever choice you want to do to create the art you want to create, fucking do it. But anything that seems like it's, well, there's a little deception here, but people will think this is live and then they'll be more impressed. So I'm going to do it this way. Like that, I have an issue with, I think.
Yeah.
But what's weird is that there was a song I listened to a week or so ago by a band called Galleon called Paraffin. And I didn't really like it because it sounded like AI. Now it isn't. Because I've heard it Galleon from before. I know this is a real artist, but I think we're going to enter a weird time where artists that have honed their ability to have really high, exact, near perfect production are going to suffer because people will be like, oh, it just sounds like AI. We're going to get tired of that cleanliness. And it was a really weird experience being like, I couldn't, even though it was real, I couldn't experience it the same way because of that weirdness that AI is kind of injected into my experience of things now.
That's very weird. Yeah, I feel like that's already happening, like with so many bands and artists.
And here's the real problem. People that start their career after the starting of AI are fucked in a lot of ways. It's like, well, this person's AI. Well, no, we'll prove it. Well, they've got no posts back in 2021. So like, they're definitely AI. It's like, they're absolutely boned unless we find some other way of verifying people are real.
That's true. Feel bad for any band starting in 2025 or later.
Yeah, poor president, fuck's sake.
Well, yeah, they just got in. I think they just made it in.
Just about, They still haven't, what's the word I'm looking for? Escaped the claims regardless. No.
Well, so tricky times ahead for new artists, but let's look at the last 10 years. Largely the AI, what a segue. Great. Largely the AI sort of stuff environment we're now in. What are the albums in the last 10 years that came out that we're like pretty damn confident are classics already, or inevitably going to be declared classics by all. Maybe do we go one by one here?
Well, let's just collectively get the obvious one out of the way.
Well, is it?
I think so. I think it is. I think it is. I think it has to be. Not just because I'm a big fan.
Come on.
I think, like, objectively, the impact that that album already has had on the scene, and not just like the musical side of things, the impact beyond the music as well, with just like, oh my god, look what they just did, let's go and wear a mask. I love how we know exactly what we're talking about as well. That is just
Yeah,
sure
that is
The funniest, like
album.
the audience probably knows exactly
Yeah,
what
we
we're
haven't
talking
even
about.
mentioned it. Like, if that's not signs of a classic album to come, it's just, yeah. So Sleep Tokens Taking Back to Eden is I'm going to say the most guaranteed classic album on this list, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Can
On
I
all
say
of our list.
one thing about
Go.
it though is like, even if you hate Sleep Token and that band sucks, all that stuff, that we get it, but it literally is like changing the music industry a little bit too for our scene, because it really proves you don't need to write a 3-minute radio hit to go get massive success, right? They're kind of shaking up what is the traditional norm to get success as a rock / metal band. And so even like musically, you might disagree, like, oh no, like these other bands are more influential sonically. Well, Sleep Token's changing a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? What you expect in terms of like how a song it goes viral or something.
Yes. Interestingly, that was my first thought, was Take Me Back to Eden. But I actually landed on Sundowning. Because Take Me Back to Eden, it's my favorite album by them. I adore it. But it does have the apparition on it. That's not the reason. Like, it's got skips, guys. It's got skips.
Do you wish that you let me?
But this is it. Like, there's, you know, there's things going on there. I think Sundowning is a back-to-back kind of like no skip, incredible, massively influential album that really established you can do whatever the fuck you want, and like it can be great, and it can go on to do bigger and better things. And there were plenty of musicians who were discovering them around that time that went, oh fuck, this is incredible, and it started incorporating that style already. Yes, popularity wise, Eden, rocket ship. But for me, Sundowning is like the classic Sleep Token starting point. That's like, that album set it off on the whole trail that we now have enjoyed.
Respect. I like that opinion.
Yeah, it's a very good take. Just going back to the definition, just so
here we go.
I don't get lost. No, you're still on the ball. But I'm just trying to see if, like, because I agree as well. Like, I love both albums, but if we're gonna put two of them head to head in terms of what would, you know, make it a classic album, widely recognized, I would say Take Me Back to Eden wins there. Both widely recognized because they belong to Sleep Token. Culturally significant musical work of lasting. So I guess both could fall into that, but I think culturally significant would be more again to Eden, just from a culturally significant standpoint. I know it's a newer album, but like it's just undeniably bigger culturally for what it's done for the scene. High quality is subjective, but it goes into that both in that bracket. And in many cases, pioneering, enduring, or genre defining status, which I think where we're at right now. And again, it almost comes down to what the state of the scene is going to be like in 10 years, because that's actually where it will be defined too, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a little bit unknown how genre defining it is right now, because both of them are relatively new.
I feel like you can kind of tell there's so many bands doing like that mysterious, like ambient to something kind of crescendo, heavy sounding with a big metal drop. So I feel like
the fucking
like
guitar tones.
Guitar tones, Sleep
from like The Offering. So many bands have been incorporating that since Sundowning, not just Eden.
Yeah, I had a dude submit his song last night. He was a solo artist, like self-produced. It was really good, but it was like no shame Sleep Token worship, and it was like on the nose so far. I was like, wow, this is actually crazy to hear something that is this inspired by it. It had like almost like a Gethsemane like rap section, hip-hop section, 808s in the middle of it, and then it had 8-string breakdowns towards the end. He had a really good voice, which was kind of cool, but it was just interesting to hear like, oh, this is not even trying to hide the fact that you're massively inspired by not even Sleep Token in general, but the actual like kind of last two albums of Sleep Token. You're kind of starting to see that coming through now. with all the hip hop elements and shit thrown in there. So yeah,
Our Chronicle is very strongly Sleep Token influenced, largely from the earlier records. And their most recent song, Duh, was like even had a 2 like drum kind of compositional thing over the crescendo towards the end. It's like, oh wow, this is really like from Sundowning sort of era.
Gore a little bit too.
Definitely.
Zenobia, right? There's a lot of bands where you can tell there's like an influence at play. And like, you know, it's like I was listening to some old pop punk yesterday, and I'm just thinking like this era, like I know it's still around, but it's just nowhere like the same kind of relevance as it was back in like the early 2000s. And so I'm thinking like all these bands like today sound like they're kind of going into something that's like a little bit more Sleep Token. Not all of them obviously, but like there's a good portion of these bands, you know, using their 7-string guitars to emphasize heavy, and then they go into something atmospheric, maybe bringing like some like something a little bit sexy. Like I just feel like Sleep Token has done a lot for the scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think either or. I would personally choose Taking Back to Eden as the classic album from Sleep Token's discography, but I'm
not mad about it.
I see your points with
I think
Sundown.
we can align on Eden. But yeah, okay. Well, that was predictable. Let's move on to something less predictable, perhaps.
I got one that is obvious to me, but Loathe, I Let It In, and It Took Everything is a genre-defining album. It has no skips because I feel like it's better in the context of the album, listening start to finish, even though there's a lot of songs that I love just as standouts. But I think that album came out 6 years ago now and has already changed a lot of the current modern metalcore scene, where so many bands are using a lot of like shoegaze. You know, you can argue that Deftones is the band that's inspiring them, but I feel like Loathe definitely wore the Deftones influence on their sleeve very high, that now bands are like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of bands are influenced by Loathe. They're also using that same kind of guitar. I forget what it's called.
Baritone?
Yeah, baritone guitars too. I've seen a lot of modern metalcore bands using that same kind of guitar style that Loathe, I feel like, popularized too. I just feel like they're really changed the sound or influenced the sound of modern metalcore today.
I'd agree. That was on my list as well. I don't love it the same way that you lads do, but like I think it's undeniable the influence that that's had. And it's that album is you can. I think it's a classic album for what that is.
I think Loathe kind of inspired Sleep Token in a couple of ways as well, especially in Sleep Token's guitar tone. Like you hear that in the, what's the song that's not the apparition that begins with an A off of Eden? Ascensionism. There's a breakdown at the end that is very Loathe, like the doom 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 doom. That was like so Loathe to me when I heard that. And obviously they've done that song together, right?
Is It Really You? They cover, Sleep Token covered Is It Really You by Loathe.
Yeah. So I mean, they're not exactly hiding the slight influence. I'm not saying it's like massively influential, but yeah, like regardless of them maybe playing a part in influencing a band that we've just discussed as being almost guaranteed a classic album in 10 years. Yeah. They also just with their own work as well with the last album. I think that is definitely, it was on my list as well. Classic album. Especially just like implementing that like shoegaze sound. I feel like they've really kind of pioneered that in the really heavy like modern metalcore space. I think they've done a really good job with that. And yeah, like you said with the baritone guitars, I think that album already, like it's a couple of years old now, and it's still like, you know, we're not far off it being like, we're what, like five years away from it being like in the category of classic album if we're going by the 10-year rule. So you can see that people are like longing for more from Loathe. So I think that's an easy classic album in the future as well.
You're spot on about it influencing Sleep Token. Like they're buddies. I know they're buddies, but also like you can find images of Vessel in the crowd of Loathe concerts too. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put those images on screen for you guys.
We will not do that. We'll just Photoshop the mask on it. Yeah. Like, it could be anyone.
Okay, so we're keeping it a little bit safe here. Does anyone want to take the first risky swing?
I've got a potentially risky swing that I think people might not agree with. Oh, Burb's going to leave to get coffee. I'll say what it is, and then Burb, you can leave and think about your rebuttal without hearing what I'm going to say.
Without hearing?
Spiritbox, Eternal Blue. Off you go, Burb. Now, you see, I can see.
Along with you after you just said that.
Well, let me make a case before you immediately go. So, I think it's undeniable how much influence Spiritbox are having on the scene
Yeah.
with their music and how they're presenting themselves and everything they're doing. And that is their debut album. For me, it's no skips. I think it's fucking brilliant. And if we just take a moment, if I can look this up.
I'm just getting the album up here. I'm not ignoring it.
That's fine. The track listing on this. So it starts off with Sun Killer, which is a fucking banger. Hurt You is a great song. Yellow Jacket with Sam Carter, incredible. Great chorus. Summit is a banger. Secret Garden is a pop banger. Silk the Strings is fucking... Well, Silk in the Strings is like a heavy banger. Got Holy Roller on that. Eternal Blue is a lovely song. More ethereal. We Live in a Strange World, similarly. Halcyon, great song. Circle With Me, Barb thinks is a little generic. I think it's their best song. And then Constance, this gorgeous emotive thing to close. The spectrum of sound that they created on that record to a high level, and it's got loopability. There's no skips in that for me. And the influence of that and this rocket ship that they ended up being has absolutely spawned a bunch of new people to come into the scene and go, I want to do that. I want to sound like that. And I think this is in large part also influencing a lot of the kind of slight copycat of generic metalcore that's kind of happened since. This album, although it's not as artistically unusual and interesting perhaps as like Tsunami Sea or some of the EPs that came after, this is an incredible album, and I consider that to be a classic. I think one day people will be like, yeah, do you know what? Eternal Blue. Yeah.
Yeah. I think undeniably Spiritbox are a classic band, if you want to call it that. Like, they are definitely, you know, doing massive things for the scene. But I just don't know. You make a good point. Like, I am considering it now that you've described it like that and looking through the track list. There is some songs that I don't go back to at all in the middle of that. But I just don't know, like, sonically, stylistically, I'm like thinking of, is there anything in that album that, there kind of is and there isn't. I don't know. I'm hung up on that. I'm kind of 50-50 on that as a take. I was fully not on board, but I am kind of.
And you don't have to, it's fine if there's some songs like it's not, you don't come back to. Like Loathe, for me, it's not a record I go back to, but I think their combination of cleans and mad, heavy, blood-curdling screams over this really high-quality production of metalcore, people have been trying to replicate that ever since, I think. And it started really with that album.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the impact, they're one of the most impactful bands over the past couple of years in terms of like, even for women in metal, like even just, we're talking about MAPHRA at the start of this. I'm sure there was a massive, like she's covered one of Spiritbox's songs as well. So I'm sure there was massive inspiration there, and the many others as well. I'm sure, like we mentioned with Hayley from Gore, like there's just so many women in the scene that I'm sure have been like massively inspired by Spiritbox. So 100% I'm giving Spiritbox their flowers, but I just don't know if that album strikes me as one album that people will look back on as like a kind of genre defining thing. Impact in general across the board with all of their work, their entire discography is so stellar. Discography wise, it's almost like a classic discography at this point for this era, but like one album in particular, yeah, I'm struggling with that one a bit, but I'd like to hear what Burp has to say.
No, I'm fully on board, and sorry that I have to keep grabbing coffee. My brain is not fully working this morning, but Tsunami Sea, their recent album, I think is a more cohesive piece of work. But I'm a fan of like the early material, like the EPs, the singles and stuff. That's what I love about Spiritbox the most. Now, there is a good collection of songs in Eternal Blue that are fucking incredible. Like Holy Roller, like I know it's a basic answer, but I think that song is an absolute heater. Like Constance, I think is a masterpiece too. They have so many good songs on it. But out of all their pieces of work, I would actually agree that Eternal Blue, I think, is probably the most influential, because that's what initially got them on people's radar, right? Like Holy Roller was such a big, successful song for them, but that album has so many standout singles. Now, do I think it's a no-skip album? No, but like I said at the beginning of this, like that's very rare. Like it's very rare to have a no-skip album. But I think what Drew was saying about like what it's done for women in metal too is absolutely huge. But I also just think besides that, it's just a really good metalcore album that has a lot of the elements that makes up what modern metal is. I think a lot of it is those gent guitars from Mike, and you know, even like this Gojira scrapes, it's like so Spiritboxy to them at this point. The production on it too just sounds like such a part of its era too. Like it feels like in 10 years from now, production is going to sound different, but we'll go back to this record like, oh yeah, this is such a 2020 kind of album, like from that era. Like I just think it's the best representation of Spiritbox, and I definitely think it's one of the most influential records for sure. Like, dude, the guitar riffs for sure. So many bands have like Spiritbox riffy kind of moments. What's this? Oh, there's another band that does Spiritbox covers, and I know you covered them, Drew, and possibly you, Steve. But like you did a short for them. It's like a girl who screams, and she kind of has like a I don't know
covers.
Yeah, they do Spiritbox covers. They have some original music. One of her songs are like Anger Part 4 or something.
MAPHRA?
Morphied. Yeah, I'm getting confused with MAPHRA.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're even like to me, they feel like they very Spiritboxy, right?
They are Spiritboxy, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, very influential band. I think that's a great shout. I would actually choose that album.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
It's now law, Drew. You've been outnumbered.
That's fine. That's fine. Democracy.
Do you have a controversial one potentially?
Oh, this is what I was trying to maybe say at the start of the video, is that I guess because I've had like a smaller sample size of years to collect albums, like I'll, for example, look at maybe a band that I've loved for the past couple of years, and I'll be around for like even if I look at Tesseract and War of Being, I feel like I can't fully have that much of a like educated opinion on it if I haven't been around for a lot of the previous releases. In a way, I know that's not like necessarily how this works because we're talking about the future here, but I just feel like I'm hesitant with certain albums because I'm like, oh well, I don't really know the full impact of certain albums when they dropped because I wasn't like in the space and listening to the music when they were around. So like I was around for my first Tesseract album release was War of Being. I'm just using Tesseract as an example. I don't think War of Being will be a classic album. But I guess the most recent one, which we can talk about, that we all had as our album of the year last year. It's so recent. This is like a hard one to know. It's like we're talking. Some of them are like the Loathe one is like a couple of years old now, where it's like, okay, this has had enough time to marinate. People are still loving this. People still want more. This one is like incredible album. Will it have that much staying power in 10 years' time? I have it down on this list as a potential classic album.
Me too.
Okay, right, we all do. Okay, so we're somewhat on the same page. Yeah, I think it's riskier the closer it is to the actual like release date. That one's very close.
Yeah.
But I think Hit It by Vianova or Vianova, however. I don't even know how do I normally say it now? Is it Vianova or Vianova?
You normally say Vianova.
Vianova, yeah.
I say Vianova.
Okay, well, Vianova, Hit It is on all of our lists, apparently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely one that we will hear. Like even the Sunborn track, that Glacier, they're using the same mixing engineer and I believe producer as Vianova, and you can just fucking hear that guitar tone. It's kind of like when you hear like a Loathe guitar tone, it just sounds like them. And funnily enough, that's probably a whole different conversation of, you know, how important and how influential like mixing engineers and producers can be in the scene to like actually shape an entire generation, because Vianova have done really well, and now we've heard Sunborn, who people seem to be really enjoying off their last single. Their heavy moments sound almost identical because it's the same guy doing it.
I mean, just think about Buster.
Buster is fucking
everything that's happened since.
Insane. Yeah. So we might see an influx of people being like, oh well, who, you know, what was the sickest album last year? Well, a lot of people think it was Hit It. What's a popular thing right now? It's the Sunborn. Who are they using as producer? Let's go to him. Let's give him business. And then all of a sudden it just starts to like spread out.
I bet there's also going to be some bands that are like doing a sort of 70s mashup with metalcore, because the sound kind of worked well together. This kind of funk soul thing.
Yeah.
That I bet we'll hear some bands doing that.
Yeah, but I also think that they have a really hard sound to actually mimic, which gives them more staying power in the long term. Because like, how do you even mimic a Vianova song? Like, you can have a similar guitar tone, but pulling off their switch ups and riffs and wacky weird moments is almost like, yeah, like you couldn't get AI to recreate that, because it would just do something fucking completely off. Like it's more unpredictable than AI at times.
That album is one of the best examples of a no skip album for me. That's like from the modern era. Like that album is so amazing front to back. Like I think maybe the tracks like 1 to 4 are good, like really good, but like the second half of the record's like fucking amazing to me. But still, it's like a no skip album. And the thing is, like, it's still too current to say the cultural impact of it. Also, I think another thing that dictates that is like how well it'll do in terms of numbers and streams and getting people like to pay attention, because Vianova is still like a upcoming band. They're still the opening act to a lot of concerts. So that's where when we look at other bands like Sleep Token's like third album, Take Me Back to Eden, is what blew them up, right? Like they already had like a significant like popularity and rise, but Vianova's still too fresh that I feel like maybe Vianova's next record will be the one that people are like, oh shit, like they almost become like a household name in this scene a little bit. But right now,
I could understand that point. It's certainly off the back of our chat about Sleep Token, but in that same vein, I was thinking of Sundowning more as the classic, which hit it would be Vianova's equivalent of potentially. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, sometimes it feels easier to like label something as classic when it's just older already. Like Sundowning feels like it makes more sense to call it classic because it's a really good album that came out longer ago. But I think in 10 years' time, when that gap of whatever it is between Sundowning and Taking Back to Eden doesn't feel as significant because you're already like 10 years down the line, you don't really see it in that way anymore. Because it's like, oh, they're both really old albums. I think Eden will be that bigger one. So, but yeah, it's also hard to not like... Because Sleep Token are so big and influential, you can almost put more weight on what their albums are from a classic standpoint. It's like Bring Me. It's almost like everything that they release now is so influential because everyone's trying to copy what they do, that it feels like just by default it's a classic album, even though like maybe the songs aren't the most interesting. It's just because they have so much cultural impact that it's like, oh, everyone's talking about this, everyone's going to copy this regardless if it's good or not. It's just because they're the big band that everyone wants to follow because it's popular. So it's trying to separate that. Like Vianova are small, they don't have a big audience following them, and people aren't going to necessarily copy them instantly. But then Bring Me, everyone will do it no matter what. And Sleep Token, they're already big, so it's trying to like split those.
Yeah, reflecting back on my top trumps thing, like there is unlikely to be top 10 max on all attributes. Huh?
Are we getting political? It sounds like you're getting political.
Oh no.
Trumps.
Popularity, influence-wise, yeah, they're going to be maxed out on that particular ability. But I don't think Next Gen is in No Skips album. But and I'd be surprised if anyone's like, that's No Skips, because there's some really strange like interlude bits and pieces in there. I'm like, let's skip the next song.
What album like is great for this discussion, but it just misses it out by being 11 years old is Bring Me the Horizon. That's the Spirit. That album, so many bands tried to replicate that radio rock sound, and I feel like it's kind of disappearing a little bit, but it was a thing where so many bands like, oh, that's the Spirit. But yeah, that came out in 2015, so
but then I think, it's way earlier, but Sempiternal for me is like the definitive. That's the classic Bring Me the Horizon. That was massive and influential in a lot of ways.
It's the most, for sure.
Yeah. Herb, do you have one?
Album I have an album that's definitely changed the scene, but is it No Skips? God, no. It's hard to listen to this record. But Vildhjarta Macedon is literally one of the most influential albums, especially in terms of like guitars. Like the entire Thal movement that you're hearing right now from bands like Alt, Humanity's Last Breath, and all this other stuff is because of Vildhjarta. And it's funny because they did this back in 2011 with Macedon. And it like the Thal movement was still kind of small, a little bit more underground. And this is where I was kind of talking about with Vianova. It's like it's like smaller discussion. But now with their new album, well, not new, came out in 2021, but that album, so many bands are like replicating that style, Mirar and stuff like, and Buster Odom's mixing and stuff like. They are literally changing the sound of modern metal. So, but it's like an hour and 20 minutes long. So.
Keith, that is
a task.
I've forgotten that I did that. How did I fucking do that and not just melt?
It's like it's I have it on the list as well. It's for sure a classic album. I've definitely, my thoughts on the musical side of it, I've definitely completely like fallen off a cliff a little bit. I think it's just because I've subsequently heard so many bands do the Thal thing, and I've just come to the conclusion that it's the same way I kind of like shoegaze. Shoegaze as its own entity and its own genre, to me, is just so uninteresting. And the same with Thal. If we want to categorize Thal as essentially what Vildhjarta did for a lot of their career and what they did in the most recent album, that to me is so uninteresting now. But like used as a like supplement to be sprinkled on a more refined core genre is just so much better for me. It's like Loathe metalcore with some shoegaze as an accent. and then alt like metalcore with the accent of Thal, and Humanity's Last Breath with deathcore, but they're like Thal moments. That to me is just so much more interesting. So, but that's again all because of Vildhjarta with the massive like interests, even since back in 2011. But I think the 2021 album was definitely the big one.
Yeah. Yeah, not the most easy listening record, but
no, by no stretch, no. So that was Mustaden under Vatten for anyone who wants to check that one out and have their brain melted out of their ears.
Yeah, just get melted.
Yeah. But
you know what's an album that I think is part of the discussion, but I don't go back to it too much because I definitely like them more as songs rather than albums. But I definitely think this is influencing the entire scene is Knock Loose and their recent album.
Also on my list. Yeah,
I feel like I've been
go
talking
before
about,
you're supposed to.
Yeah. So Steve, what do you think about it?
Yeah, certainly. Like that really, they were starting to get a lot of interest when they were doing, what was it, like Lollapalooza or Coachella, and they were getting some notable moments, and people were aware of their heavy songs and their singles. They were enjoying those. They were great for reactions and things. And then that album completely destroyed everyone's earballs, as I enjoy saying from watching Archer TV series, across the world, and with the most massive sound, especially in the guitars. And I think so many bands are trying to create guitar tones like Knocked Loose, especially obviously in the hardcore scene, but also in other aspects of metal, because of the absolute brute force that is as an experience. And no one can replicate Brian's vocals. They're very specific.
Mickey Mouse.
But it's that kind of, similar to what we're saying with the Vianova or Sleep Token, there's some things like are kind of inimitable. And that is what will send something to the moon is, well, there's nowhere else you can go to get this combination of sound other than Knocked Loose. And that becomes its own sort of mold making imprint that has a massive influence and is a bit of a heater album that grows for me on more listens, which is a surprise. And it's got Suffocate on it, which is, that was a huge zeitgeist moment internationally.
Yeah.
Massive.
I agree. Yeah. So we all have You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knock Loose on our list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
There's something like even like not just sonically, like what the band embodies too for the scene. I feel like it's so like anti-commercial, yet they're getting such massive success with it, which is kind of crazy. It really proves that you can still be a heavy as fuck band and still get mainstream success with it. So I think a lot of bands will look up to that, and even like bands who have been around forever. Like I when I interviewed Under Oath too, like Spencer the vocalist has so much respect for Knock Loose, and it just seems like this is so cool to see a band that is just like, yeah, they're so heavy, doing whatever they want to do, and gain mainstream success with it. So I think that's another reason why they're so like well respected and beloved in the scene.
Yeah, people actually were saying that Knock Loose sold out with their most recent song because they had Denzel Curry on it. I'm like,
fuck off.
Just
what?
Fuck off. Like,
too many idiots with internet access.
Oh my goodness. It's like, that is such a thing in the scene as well, where if bands just get to a particular level of popularity, no matter what their sound has done, even if it hasn't changed, it's just like a certain threshold of popularity where if you reach that level, because you're now popular, you've sold out. It's just like there was no logic behind why they've sold out other than the fact that they're doing like commercial level performances and mainstream performances, and that means they sold out. It's like, no, they've actually done the complete opposite. They've just gone heavier and more ridiculous, and they've done that to such a degree that it's actually come full circle and become mainstream because of how ridiculous it is. So that's why they're a fucking absolutely classic band, but that album in particular, I think, is their what's the word I'm looking for? Their
Tour de force.
Yeah. Pièce de la résistance. What the fuck is that thing?
Pièce de la résistance.
Yeah. Or there's another one. There's a really obvious one that I'm missing. But yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Their masterpiece.
Rosebud.
There's oh my god, what is it now?
I know what you're trying to think of. Magnum opus?
Yes, thank you. Oh my god. I started fucking speaking French before I thought of that one. Jesus Christ.
You got to Latin in the end, eh?
Don't bring up the Roman numeral. Yeah, that's incredible. I have another one here that I'm surprised hasn't been brought up already. I think this falls into the same category as our Sleep Tokens, but The Death of Peace of Mind by Bad Omens is not a no skip album. It's like by no means an incredibly great album. I think there's incredible S tier songs on it. As an album, there's some duds. They're experimenting, but undeniably, maybe even I think that album is probably from this list the most impact that we've seen up until this point since it's been released in the scene. Like of all the other albums that we've released, I think if you think about the amount of like sexy metalcore bands that exist right now, I think Bad Omens, The Death of Peace of Mind are probably responsible for fucking a lot of those. It feels like I've seen so many of those types of bands.
But, the only counterpoint I make there is that is true, but there are bands that were doing that actually at the same time as or slightly before Bad Omens. Like Unprocessed were doing sexy metal music pre-Bad Omens. It's
not even necessarily just because it's sexy. Obviously,
like Seeker, when did they start?
Like Deftones, have been doing like that kind of sexy style for years, but I don't really put Unprocessed.
What's that band you really like, Drew? Where the guy Miguel has like an incredible voice.
No.
Oh,
President's a little bit
Save Us. Yeah,
Save Us is very Bad Omens-y. Like there's a lot of bands where I'm like, oh yeah, this is Bad Omens core for sure. So I agree with that point. I think Death of Peace of Mind has done a lot for the scene, but it's funny because I totally agree. That album has some amazing songs, but then like I wouldn't even say half. I would say like 70% of the record I would skip. Like, there's a lot of songs on it that are just fine, but then you have Artificial Suicide, The Death of Peace of Mind. I like What Do You Want from Me, Concrete Jungle.
Again, if we're looking at, we have various aspects.
It's so overrated.
Just play.
Let's play.
Yeah. Let's play.
Like it's a classic
it can it be a classic album if it's got that many that are like, I mean, that's where I would go.
It's just how we're defining the classic. Because again, if it's like cultural impact, it's 100% the classic album. Based on like actual merit and music alone, I don't think it is. So it is an asterisk beside that one. But I think like if you go 10 years in the future, I don't think this sexy metal like phase is going to stop anytime soon. I think we're going further into it, and maybe we'll revert back around. There'll be like a split of people doing the sexy stuff and people doing the really raw like hardcore stuff because people are sick of the sexy stuff. But I think in 10 years time it's going to be like, oh, remember that era of sexiness? And it's like, yeah, what was the big band back then? Oh, it was Bad Omens and like Sleep Token and shit. And it was like, yeah, but Sleep Token were doing this kind of like atmospheric, ethereal, you know, cryptic thing, where Bad Omens were just full on like leaning into the kind of sexiness, especially in the Death Peace of Mind. I think that album is it just like Burr mentioned, like Bad Omens core is a lot easier to refine, I think, or define than like Sleep Token core. I think Sleep Token's a little bit more abstract. Bad Omens is like that metal core feel.
Yeah.
I follow the logic there.
Yeah. So
not fully convinced, but I follow it.
Yeah. Musically, I don't agree. It's not in there, but I think it's kind of like one of those albums that people will be like, yeah.
I have other albums here that are like much more no skip, but the cultural impact is not necessarily there. So I think this is something to weigh in for people in the comments who want to chime in or something. It's like they may not agree with Bad Omens being here or something, but like there's no denying the cultural impact. And it's like it's what they did afterwards too, right? The collaborating with Poppy and other things. Like they're just such a prolific band. But like even on my list, I have this album that I think is fucking incredible. It came out in the past 5 years, I think. But Every Time I Die, Radical is an amazing album. But it doesn't have the cultural impact. That was like 20 years ago. Every Time I Die probably had that cultural impact a little bit more.
Yeah, I've not heard of it, so it's over my head a little bit.
I've never quite got into them. I know that I should because so many of the bands I like have been influenced by them, but it never really clicked for me. But I also have a couple other albums that are personally, I think, classics, but they don't have the cultural impact level, I don't think, perhaps. 156 Silence, People Watching. I think that's a classic album. For like 10 years from now, people are like, holy shit, what an album. I think Grey Haven, Keep It Quiet is also an album that 10 years time, people are like, holy shit, what a fucking album. But I don't think they've got the impact as yet.
Did you you liked that album on first listen, right? I'm trying to remember.
First listen, I think I might have sneaked it into Delicious because there's so many elements of that I liked, but I wasn't. It was kind of all over the shop as a thing to take in. But the more I hear it, oh my god,
fucking great! Yeah, that album's so good.
Some melodies in there are all timers.
So fucking good.
One we mentioned, I think maybe on our bonus episode last week, but Heavener by Invent Animate.
I have that as well.
That's the big shout. I think there is cultural impact in the metalcore scene with that one.
Yeah.
This is in our metalcore scene. Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's probably still a large proportion of the wider music universe who wouldn't know who Invent Anime are. So I don't know how much that factors in.
It's true, but like in our scene, like I feel like I hear so many bands that are heavily inspired by Invent Animate. Just like I hear that same kind of guitar playing, and then trying to be pretty and then disgustingly heavy. I'm like, this is so Invent Animate. So like their influence is so apparent. It is more niche.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's incredible.
they were just unlucky that they released an album the same year as Sleep Token, and it was that album that was like their biggest downfall of that album release, was just doing it in the wrong year. But yeah, I think that band, like, it's always when you hear like that tappy metalcore with like atmosphere in the background and then big breakdowns and screams, it's always like, oh, this kind of sounds like Currents or Invent Animate. And I think Invent Animate have just managed to, in recent years, capture the audience's attention a little bit more than Currents have. Currents' most recent EP is unbelievable, but Invent Animate, I think, just, I've kind of like, ever since I heard that Heavener album, I haven't really found that much interest in listening to that style of metalcore anymore. It's almost like they just kind of perfected what that style of metalcore can be.
They completed the final boss.
They literally did. And I'm kind of like, since then, I've felt my interest in that style of metalcore, the atmospheric, tappy riffs, and gladly, I think they've kind of noticed that as well, that they probably completed it, and they have shifted a little bit. We've heard it like go in a slightly different direction, even with the split EP they did with Silent Planet. And then the Heavener like title track they did got a little bit more, you know, out of the realm of like technical metalcore.
If they keep leaning into pretty metalcore, I think that'd be awesome for the next record.
Yeah, that record's classic for me, or will be.
But then we had, and this is a nudge to go back and listen to our earlier episodes. We had Marcus Vick from Invent Animate on the Metal Roundup before, and I think he was talking about he wants to experiment even more. So who knows what that could look like for Invent Animate? But I'd be surprised if the next record is that recognizable potentially. Maybe they'll do something quite different.
Yeah, I think Bird made a good point about the side project of Keaton Goldwire. I think I just seen your reaction to Pure, his side project.
Pale.
Yeah, and I listened to that second song they released, and I just really was not into it at all. The first one was okay, and then the second one I was like, wow, I'm so fatigued by this style. And I think you made a point, Burb, where maybe this could be like Keaton's way of getting all that like really technical riffing and shit out of him, because maybe Invent Animate have kind of maybe gone in a different direction. So maybe that could be, there could be some truth behind that. I guess we'll see.
I'm so fatigued by that stuff too. Like another album that I feel like is a really good album in metalcore, and I wonder if the next album will continue to do something more interesting, is Era with their self-titled. I think the self-titled record is considered like a metalcore masterpiece to a lot of people in the metalcore niche, but great record from those guys. Yeah,
I'd put The Dark Pill by Thornhill in that list as well for like classic albums. I'd actually put that. I think that maybe has better reception than the self-titled album. But yeah, I remember, because I guess it's kind of fresh in my mind because people were asking me to check these albums out when I first got into metalcore, and these were always the big albums. It was self-titled by Era and The Dark Pool. And yeah, I think that'll be, I don't think it's really shaped anything necessarily, Thornhill. I don't think like they've really massively changed the game or like led a big like revolution in the space, but I think that album is just so good from start to finish that I think it's just going to be a classic album.
You can argue that with new Thornhill though.
I was going to say, yeah, I think they'll definitely have more impact with the new album in terms of changing things.
Horny for Thorny.
Yeah, but it's also like, is that because they've found that massive success with this? That's just what happens when like popular bands, like now they're considered one of the bigger bands in the scene, you know, with the cosigns they're getting with Sleep Token and all these fun different tours they're doing. So it will be, yeah, it's an easy one. If bands are looking to like replicate what's popular right now, they're going to be like, okay, well, who are the big bands right now? We got Polaris, we got this guy. They're going to be in there. So Polaris, Fatalism as well is another.
That's a good shout, actually.
Yeah. I had that on my list, but I don't know. I think it's just really good Polaris. I don't think it's like something that people will really, I don't know.
The other one
think
that
earlier
I have,
Polaris might be.
Is it within the 10 years?
That's the question.
This is one within the 10 years, but North Lane Alien is a really, really good record. And Doesn't have the cultural impact, but definitely influenced a lot of bands in the metalcore space.
Yeah.
The Mortal Coil by
Yeah.
Polaris. That album,
that one's
the
a banger.
Remedy on it. Consume. Fuck, man.
I think I personally prefer Fatalism, but yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
That was 2017, so it's 9 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people already consider that like a classic album in metalcore already. I think people have already kind of set that one up. What were we talking about just there? We had...
You know what's... well, I mentioned Northlane Alien.
Northlane, yeah. I think Obsidian as well, just with the way like electronics have started to come in. But I know Obsidian is just kind of like a further experimentation for what like they already did in Alien, so...
I think another one that's worth mentioning, but it's definitely like a skip album. There's so many songs I would skip. And I think you guys would agree, but Lawrence Shore, Pain Remains, I think has big cultural impact and has done so much for heavy music, and also so many vocalists trying to imitate the Will Ramos pig snarls and crazy vocals.
Yeah. I don't know enough about that world to know whether there were precursors that might maybe they were borrowing their sound from a little bit. Have they pioneered that
they
sound?
Popularized it. There was other bands that are way more niche, but like Will Ramos, like Lawrence Shore was already kind of doing well in numbers, but with Will Ramos being the new vocalist, it just absolutely shook the scene. It went viral, right? Like people reacting
huge.
to that breakdown, just like, oh my fucking God, this is the heaviest thing I've ever heard. Like there's so many funny videos you can see on TikTok of people reacting to it. So it literally, and then like when you see Lawrence Shore live, like so many people are on their phones recording that breakdown. Like they all bust out their phone so they can record it. Like
it was a moment.
It's a moment, but like I think it's definitely, you have to mention that album if you're talking about cultural impact. But that album, like I would skip 80% of that. Right? Yeah, that's the problem.
True.
I'd probably skip the whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I listen. I'm impressed by it. Tip of the cap to them. I as yet, I mean, in my future I may, but as yet I haven't completely found my way into enjoying that style of music for more than a few minutes.
Yeah. I found myself finding this task quite hard, but I guess that's the nature of classic albums. There shouldn't be that many classic albums because they're classic for a reason. So I was like, I don't know if I could actually really put this in, but the only thing I'm like fully 100% confident, I think, in this entire list is the first album we mentioned, which is Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. And maybe I'll throw in the Bad Omens one there as well, just in terms of like guaranteed 10 years looking back. But then again, is that because the bands are already so popular and it's just like an obvious one to pick out because of that era being so influenced by them? Or is it based on
it can't
the
just
actual
be that they're
musical
popular.
merit?
It can't just be that.
It's hard to separate the two, but it's an interesting one.
Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden, though, is definitely the one to shout, because like I feel like it's almost like the My Chemical Romance of like the Black Parade of this generation or something. Like people hate on it, but then give it like 10 years from now, people will be like, oh wait, this was actually very like a reinvention of the scene and sound.
Yeah,
for sure.
And be like, wow, what a privilege to have lived through that and be, as it was rolling out and all the things, people were like, oh man, what was that like? Because we'll be the old people, we'll be the older people. Then that'd be fun.
And we'll be on the right side of history. We were here enjoying it when it was happening, not after the fact. And then we'll be looking back and it'll be like, I've kind of gone off that album, Just listened to it too many. I don't actually go back to the album much because I've just listened to it so many fucking times that I'm just like, yeah, I'll come back in a couple of years when I'm...
Yeah, weirdly, if I want to put on some Sleep Token, I generally go to like Sundowning. I do. I don't know, there's something about that that's just infinite plays for me, but Eden is a particular thing to go into for me. I love it, but
maybe it's because you rinse the new Sleep Token so much, like even in Arcadia also, because I find myself like kind of gravitating towards the older material, maybe because I just, the same producer working with Carl Brown, there's like a certain sound that maybe I'm just like, I'm craving and wanting older Sleep Token. It's what I've noticed too. Like I'll put on Jaws, I'll put on Higher instead.
Jaws. Amazing.
Yeah. Great discography, man. Great discography. But yeah, I suppose there will obviously be albums that we've just missed. We did try and pick out the ones that were obvious. I would like to think that there wouldn't be something glaringly obvious that we've just brushed over.
I've got a couple of like, they were on the edge of here. I don't think they're in, but I did think of them.
If you say Bill Murray. He's not doing the
I'm not. No.
Okay.
That's not metal to begin with, really by the definition, I would say. But
well, half of these fucking albums aren't, to be fair.
I mean, the one that's near-ish in the world of Bill Murray, but Beartooth's The Surface, I think, is a fucking incredible album. And I think potentially. But I think most people would be like, for whatever reasons, maybe that's not like really a classic album. But in this style of metal, the kind of more classic metalcore world, I think Zenith by Bleed From Within, people in future will look back on that and be like, that was a whole fucking moment for that style of metal. That's all I got.
You're allowed to have an opinion, Steve. It's fine. It's okay.
I was just looking at Drew's face.
I looked at you as well. I was like, okay, hold on a minute.
I hope Bleed From Within doesn't listen to our podcast.
It's a solid album. I just think that
really solid. It's just a bad reaction.
Here's what I think, man. I would be talking about that. I think it was good. I did like it, but it's sort of as well. It's a style of metal that I don't regularly listen to. And the same with like Lorna Shore, or something I can enjoy and appreciate, but it's a style I don't go to. I think people that like the kind of music that Bleed From Within make will be like, that's a fucking classic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much more else to defend it with, but that's what I think.
I think a lot of people would put their previous album over that one. What was it called? The like orange cover one, Bleed From Within. I don't know. I wholeheartedly disagree with that, Steve. But look, it's fine. Shrine is a big album for them as well. Their 2022 album. So, yeah.
You know what's a album that could be worth mentioning is Polyphia. Remember That You Will Die. I think has changed a lot of the guitar style in that world a little bit.
Potentially,
it's a great fucking record too. I really like.
Yeah, some fun songs there for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think again, like massive band that are already like influential just in technique, regardless of the music, just technique wise, they're so influential. But
but that album, I think that's the one that had Goat on it, or maybe it was the one before. Shit, yeah. So they got popular from the album back in 2018.
They had like Chino and shit like that and everything on it, right?
Yep.
No, not
they
Chino.
Had Chino, a bunch of features.
Yeah. So it was a big album.
Oh, yeah.
They had like the pop
But a lot of
well.
guitarists are mad at Tim Henson for what they're doing to the guitar world.
Making it too hard for them?
Yeah.
Too hard, but also all these bassy beats and production. Like people are kind of like annoyed by it. It's like they say it's all style over substance.
Yeah. You have to really feel
it's a whole thing.
Like, make something so popular that they just become hated by a group of people.
That's the thing, right?
It's so tough.
But that makes it
they
very
have no
successful,
control over that.
Yeah. What can you do? Yeah, I've exhausted my list. I feel like I've missed one or two that are going to be really annoying, but that's the beauty of the comments where people can shout at us for missing the most obvious albums possible.
I just have more niche ones. Like, actually, this one just got knocked out by 1 year. It's 11 years old, but the Contortionist Language. But that's quite niche in the prog world. So, yeah. Ithaca, They Fear Us is a no skip album. If you know, you know. Unprocessed and everything in between. Really fucking good record. The new album's really good too.
Not a bad show. Not a bad show at all. I think, Angel, I don't know, because they're both quite similar albums, I think, in many ways, but I struggle to go between those two and pick a favorite. I
personally like And Everything in Between a little bit.
Yeah. I think Angel is still really unique and it takes a lot of risks with features and stuff, but I think that And Everything in Between album was, I feel like, this new era of Unprocessed that we're now hearing. That was like the start of that, so it was more surprising and like more, whoa, this is really fucking cool. So maybe, I think that's not a bad shout for a classic album potentially. Yeah. When we're still doing this in 10 years' time, we can return to this video and see which ones are all
a good shout.
In wheelchairs and nursing homes and shit.
In 10 years.
Well, Steve, maybe you, but I don't know. Sorry.
In 10 years, you'll be
Steve,
my age. Go fuck yourself.
Steve on a drip, just like, I'm telling you, that Bleed From Within album's fucking brilliant. Sorry.
All right, guys, I can't be right all the time.
Oh, God. Steve with his bagpipes. Or his drip is the bagpipe. Sorry.
What are you going on about now?
Because the Bleed From Within album has bagpipes.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Sorry, Grandpa Burb doesn't understand what we're talking about.
Over the head.
Well, This has been fun. As Drew has said there, if you have some albums you think we missed, let us know in the comments, because we want to know about them too. I want to, discover some classics I might have missed. So let us know what we missed, or if you agree with what we're saying, call out the ones you think are dialed on. And actually, let me know if you think Sundowning was a better pick than Take Me Back to Eden. Let's have that debate in the comments as well. But this has been fun. We're now going to do a bonus recording as we do after all of our main episodes, or we try to as much as we can. Most of the time we get to. So join our Patreon to support this channel and also gain access to early videos without any ads on them and some bonus episodes if you join on the backstage tier or if you become a member of this YouTube channel. So thank you to everyone who's supported us thus far. Thank you for checking out this episode. We'll see you again in about a week.
Peace.
Cheers, dudes.